Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, wherever it is you are in the world, and welcome to another edition of the Living World of Darkness. New York by Night, a scene for the vampire venue. Tonight's scene takes place in a aptly named club known as the Rose Garden, an establishment that recently has come back into some use after the successful campaign against Sabat. Though these nights, those that reside inside and use it frequently are troubled by the events going on in and around the city. Give me just a sec here. Favor, Anthony, would you please roll your willpower difficult 7 for nightmares? Nah, vampire dice roller. Oh. Okay. So, Adam, we got to get you out of this nightmare, buddy. Adam, when you awaken in the evening, after the sun has gone down and after the fevered dreams of ancient blood rising up from the bowels of the earth to consume the undead still walking on its surface, you come to, your mind afluster, unable to discern what is right, what is wrong, what is waking, what is a dream. As you wake up in your haven, the skies as you look out into the night are as red as any oxygenated blood, arterial blood that drips from a freshly bled out or stuck kind. The moon itself is as black as sackcloth. And as you look out at the rivers themselves, all the continuous bodies of water around Manhattan, around Brooklyn, as far as the eye can see, seem to boil with a turbulence and an anger. The massive Venus hand that reaches up towards the sky seems to pulsate, and you can almost see it grow and coalesce bit by bit by bit, slowly coming together and forming into some monstrosity the likes of which your mind can barely fathom. As you come to, what you would normally see as a personal servant, someone who was downgraded significantly in their status, all as a boon to you, where you would normally see, and I did not have her up just yet, but now it seems like it's a good idea to get her ready. Where is she? Where are you? There she is. When you would normally see this lovely woman walking in to come and see and tend to your needs for the dawn of the evening, what you see instead is this as she walks up. Adam, roll me your courage, please. I'm going to say difficulty 6, just because of the things you've had to deal with over the past few months.
Three successes.
So you don't enter Rot's trick.
Mm-hmm.
However, blood seeps from the holes in Abigail's face, and even though your courage is holding strong, there's just something very unsettling about looking at her, probably both in and out of character.
Mm-hmm.
As she seems to loom towards you, and her voice seems to almost vibrate with a almost staticky sound.
He takes a few deep breaths and he will excuse himself to the bathroom.
All right. Adam, you make your way into the bathroom. What do you do when you're in there?
He will begin a few like easy deep breaths, trying to coax himself, maybe trying to bring himself down from what he's seeing, and get himself to focus.
Adam, as you take a few deep breaths and you stand there, you catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror,
Mm-hmm.
and you notice that the pores in your skin, which have long been um, immune to the ravages of the day and the time, no more getting impacted pores, no more worry of acne or anything below the skin getting lodged in there and mixed in with bodily oils and dead skin. You notice that some of them seem to enlarge and blood begins to seep from them bit by bit as the circles begin to form in your own flesh. And it has an unsettling effect, to say the least. Please roll me your courage once again, same difficulty.
Two successes.
Somewhere in the back of your head, you can hear, "This is only a dream. This is only a dream." Somewhere in your conscious, somewhere between your conscious and subconscious, somewhere in that place that's trying to bridge the gap between both worlds, you hear yourself repeating, "It's only a dream. It's only a dream. It's only a dream. It's only a dream."
Uh, I would like to attempt willpower to try to force myself out of it.
All right, it will be difficulty 8, but please roll.
One success.
Okay. There's a rationalization that you're able to bring to yourself. You have dealt with these visions for nearly a full month, almost ever since the close of the Sabbat campaign. You're able to work past this unease and this sense of dread. And as you look at yourself again in the mirror, you notice that your skin begins to return to a normative state. However, as you look past yourself, you see the walls of your building collapse away. Abigail is lost in the mix. And you see behind you, standing under that red sky and that black moon, a figure as tall as any building in the city, massive horns growing forth from its head, and armor made of the crumbled remains and steel girders and beams of skyscrapers. The ornate patterns made of broken glass, and a weapon that seems to be a large antenna of some kind, forcibly woven in with strips of flesh that hold together a rather makeshift looking blade. And this figure stands there and raises the blade above their head with both hands and then drives it down. And you watch as from where it drives it into the center of this landmass, you see just a rolling wall of blood, almost a tidal wave, coursing over the city, sweeping up kindred, canite, and kine alike, absorbing them, turning them into blood, and leaving behind only the tattered remains of clothing and various accessories. And as the blood washes over you, find yourself laying in your bed in your light, tight room. Sound of your alarm clock going off.
He will sit there for a moment, just rather lay there for a moment, catching his breath, assuming that he is in a blood sweat right now.
Yeah, a little bit, I'd say.
And you know that moment where you just woke up from a bad dream and you just have to take a few minutes just to collect yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So he's just sitting there in a pool of his own vitae, just kind of heaving. And he will slowly rise from his bed, take a shower, and just kind of just let the water hit him and just kind of allow himself to ride the emotions and just come back to normalcy almost.
You're very much able to do so. I mean, you're still shaken, but you're assured that it's awake. You're awake. You can see the hand reaching towards the sky to the south over Staten. Though everyone who seems to almost be unable to see it passes it by as if it weren't there, blissful in their ignorance. It looks the same as it has for many, many days since it appeared, continuously trying to reach up and almost seemingly grasp the moon. The sheer stature of it seemingly concurrent with what you saw in your dream. You know that if that thing is allowed to finish whatever it is that it's doing, it could mean the end of everything.
Sigh, not knowing what he could actually do about it. But I guess he will go and speak with his uh I guess clanmates. Who's ever
Yeah.
left in the city that's willing to talk.
So off to the Rose Garden it is then.
Yes.
Well, off to the Rose Garden you go. And when you get to the club, you are first greeted by someone you know, someone who has a look of a person who is certainly plotting your untimely and ultimate demise. And she's standing outside with her lackey, of course, smoking as you approach.
I will go up to her, embrace her, and give her air kisses, as is the only bitchy thing to do.
And as you get to the second kiss, she's just going to whisper into your ear,
Mhm.
"Someday, I will rip your fucking head off, and it will be the most satisfying thing."
Now, be on your best behavior. We're in
Why?
public.
Why? World's ending. Didn't you get the memo?
It's nothing that we haven't seen before.
She's going to hold out two hands and just kind of gesture them towards the hand reaching towards the sack.
And he still gives her like that very much like the picture depicted, that very calm look. He's seen Sabat monstrosities and a whole plethora of shit. So I mean, this is odd, it's freaky, but it isn't the worst thing he's seen.
Well, here's an agent of some ancient order that's seen some shit. Maybe you saw Enoch? I don't fucking know. All I know is that it seems like everything that the Sabbat was preaching seems to be actually accurate. I'm not sure what's more settling or unsettling.
It's pretty unsettling, I give you that.
Honestly, thinking about getting the fuck out of the city.
Oh, where you gonna go?
Well, if I run away and don't fulfill my boons, I'm pretty much on my own, right?
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
Anarch territory up in Long Island, maybe? Probably further away than that. I was thinking maybe Los Angeles.
You wouldn't be the first or the last.
Get as far as fuck away as I can from that. You should probably think about doing the same. As much as I despise you, I don't think anybody deserves a fate of whatever that thing's about to bring.
You might be you might have something there. He just said so. But there's still a part of me that wants to, I don't know. It's kind of hard saying goodbye to New York.
I hear it's pretty easy if you add the word Felicia on the end.
Oh, if you insist, I could snitch, but I mean,
And that would be the
you,
ultimate bitch move.
you've already fucked yourself, so what's the point?
Huh. I was on top for 20 years before you got here. I had my time. And Camarilla has run its course as far as I'm concerned. I'm taking me and mine to get the fuck out of here.
And who are you and yours?
And she'll gesture to her blonde-haired second. Me, her, our herd, our ghouls. You come with us, you're willing to put everything back to a neutral footing. Might have a little bit of a stronger foot over there with the ruffians out west.
He'll look at her, give her like this long stare. And it honestly feels like he's actually considering what she's saying. Probably the most human he's ever looked at her in a long, long time.
Goodbye to art galleries, goodbye to court politics. Just trying to live an unlife that's not as fucking dangerous anymore.
Take care of yourself. Really.
Hmm. Marcel's inside if you want to talk to him.
You're really gonna leave, huh?
She looks back over at the hand, shrugs. I'm not built for combat. I'm good at being bitchy, and I'm good at making other people act against their own interests. That I can't talk to, that I can't manipulate, that I can't coerce. Damn right, I'm getting the fuck out of here. And if that puts me on some sort of blood hunt list because some stuffy Bruja prince wants to hold true to some sort of ideal of valor or honor or some chivalristic bullshit from a bygone era, then so fucking be it. I think everyone who stays around here is going to end up dead anyway.
I'm sad to see you go, Abby.
She'll look at him with a smile, and then she just kind of shakes her head. No, you're not.
No, truly. Interesting.
Well, I guess you wouldn't have anybody serving you blood on a silver platter anymore now, would you?
Or you can wallow in that delicious self pity that warms my heart, or you can actually listen to what I'm telling you.
Well, that's the thing. And she'll tap him on the chest as catty as ever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm much better at the former than I am the latter. See if it has any use out in LA. You make it out that way, maybe if you drop me a line before you just show up, I might not put in a bad word for you. No promises, though.
Intimidation. Classic. Take care of yourself. And he walks
Remember?
in.
Yep. All right, so you walk in and you see just a plethora of Toreador who are just trying to pretend like what's out in the sky is not there. They are smiling, they're dancing, they're plotting and making deals with one another as if nothing has happened in the past 2 months that could be any way outside of business as normal. A lot of Toreador that you can see that are either in denial or trying to do their best to not show it. Some of them doing much better than others. Some of them look tense. Some of them look like they're right at ease. Others are just brooding and quiet and contemplative. But there is the Ancilla's only roped off area for anybody who's Ancilla or higher in status,
Mm,
which you are allowed into, of course. The velvet rope does part for you.
a step through.
And right where he normally is, in his own booth, Marcel Laurent, sitting there with his cigarillo and his overly stylish attire. Well, prodigal son returns. Didn't think I'd be seeing you here so soon after getting all that status back.
It happens. Oh me, I have to want it.
Hopefully you've learned your lesson and not have anything to do with the blood mages.
What was that last part?
Hopefully you learned your lesson to not have anything to do with anything that involves blood mages.
Lesson learned.
Mm. Unfortunately, it looks like we might be needing them. Don't know if you've looked out at the sky lately to the south.
Yeah, it's quite a predicament. What do you think we should do?
Uh, Survivor, you mean tell me get out while you still can. Gather up the roses and head south, head north, head west. Hell, put an ocean between you and that thing. That's what it sounds like the smart thing would be to do. But it also means facing a certain amount of shame in and amongst the ivory tower. And Marcel Laurent ain't no fucking anarch, ain't no fucking sublot. He made out of ivory. He wanna die ivory.
And kind of that true to the core toothy grin is exchanged between Adam and Marcel, really understanding each other.
I take it that Abigail made her exit stage left, heading west. I figured the next time I saw her, she'd be being led around you with a leash around her neck.
As the grapevine says, she is choosing to do what she does best.
She'd look out for her own self-interest. I always liked that about her. But it doesn't make her less of a coward. I ain't got no use for her anymore. So I think I let her run, not put the resources into trying to track her down.
As you say,
So, you planning to stay around here?
all I've ever known is Camarilla.
What you gonna see and hear and deal with will be ugly. Worse than Zeppelins falling out of the sky.
I've seen a great many things in this city.
You're about to see
Th-
more.
some things that I've remember and some things I can't.
I need you to get in good with your people on the ground. I need you to act as a go-between. I got some associates in my private lounge I want you to meet. I think they'd be important to what we're dealing with here. The problem is this can't go through official channels. Prince know about this. He may agree with my decision on a personal level. As a prince, he has to report to the inner circle of Camarilla.
All right, I go see to that business now, sir.
Go back that way and they let you in. when you come back out, talk to me before you leave.
He nods. And, he will tip his hat in respect and then make his way to the private booth.
All right. Just give me a second here. Okay. So as you open the door, there's two guys standing there. They look to be packing heat. Guys that you've seen around before. You know they're Marcel's personal ghouls, his security detail. You haven't seen him in action, but you've heard things. Heard they're pretty skilled for what they for being, just ghouls, just empowered by the blood, not actually of it. And they stand aside and punch in a code so you can get in through the door, and you walk into what it looks like, well, the upper echelon of what status can bring a Toreador in a city like New York. All of it opulent and almost otherworldly as far as the time period goes, seeming like there's a almost jazz club feel from the Prohibition era, filled with antiques that are all kept at just a mint. And you see a woman, and she is sitting with in a rather regal-looking outfit. Um, Everything about her just seems to be immaculate. Her her features cutting almost just a nearly alien level of perfection. And she has a plate of cheese and what looks to be a cup of, you can smell it from where you are, a cup of wine. She seems to be eating it. And would you please roll me your perception and alertness?
Mm-hmm. 1, 2, 3, 4 successes.
She's breathing.
Hmm.
Very much breathing. And as you walk in, she doesn't stand for you, but she does take a napkin up to her lips as she swallows down a bit of cheese. And she'll hold out a hand to him, sort of limp at the wrist.
He'll kiss her hand. Venom's anything. He's a gentleman. And
So
who do
you
I?
go ahead. Go
and,
ahead.
and who do I have the pleasure of speaking with?
uh, no one necessarily important at the moment. Just to pass us through. I noticed that there was a sight to see in this city, and
Oh,
I just had to see it for myself.
was it everything you hoped it to be?
Quite a bit more, I have to say. I I've seen some things in my day. This certainly takes the cake.
As he will, hmm. Actually, yeah, why not? Can I have an or perception?
Oh yeah, go for it. Go ahead and roll your aspects, and I think for that it is perception.
Empathy.
Yeah, difficulty 7. I gotta bring up my color chart here. Where's my color wheel?
One success. Don't even matter. Is it a vampire? Yay or nay?
Um, hard to tell.
Gotcha.
She doesn't have the particularly pale aura,
Hmm.
but it is paler than what a human being might have. She could possibly either be just have a level of blush of health that you're not necessarily used to. She could possibly be a ghoul, but
Hmm.
her aura is exceptionally pale if she is a ghoul.
Okay. So he will, after like looking and just giving her like a strong once over, because that's how I think or perception looks. It's just like a strong stare. Um. So how may I be of assistance? Um. Mr. Laurent unfortunately had other things to take care of, and as his attaché, that duty falls to me.
Well, as I understand, you are fairly closely knit with the kindred of the city, correct?
Indeed.
Would you mind telling me of your exploits? I've heard secondhand accounts, but I would much rather hear something that is hmm, firsthand.
Well, there is the issue of the. I would say they would be described as serpentine and interesting in the sense of otherworldly. They nestled themselves quite adequately in the city, and I was tasked to deal with the issue. While dealing with the issue, it became a rather apparent that the serpent in question wasn't able to, rather, wasn't able to deal with the threat that was coming to them. And a lot of their sacred places were left unattended. I helped in dealing with that. There's also the issues concerning the political maneuvering of certain kindred who I will say found themselves outmaneuvered. And through my efforts and the efforts of a few others, we were able to liberate personal territory. And there was the quite numerous skirmishes with, as I will dub, the new Hindenburg disaster.
Well, I'd say that it was fairly public that last bit. Even when I wasn't in the city, I saw a bit of that on the news and simply had to wonder who who made a grievous faux pas in the tenets of what most sects find to be very important to their continued survival.
It's extremely troublesome, but as a lovely rose as myself, it falls within my duty to make sure that my garden remains ever trim.
Hmm. Your associates, Rex, tell me a bit about him. Primogen of Clan Gangrel, I believe, yes?
Indeed, uh, fervent, passionate, and forever one to put his passion where his desires are. Much so able to stand by honor and by virtue. A little impatient, but for the most part, efficient.
Hmm. And your friend Eliza, tell me about her.
I would describe her as well to do, earnest, and very shrewd and calculating. Most assume that her smile would denote a bit of naivete, but it's quite the opposite. She would be very much so capable and willing to use the scepter in her left hand.
And the Bruja by the name of Mitchell.
Our ideologies oftentimes differed greatly. However, if there was ever a more ever more stringent enforcer of tradition as well as, how do we say, prestation, it would be him. Strong, steadfast, and very much so a man of honor and virtue.
And the one known as Dacian. What do you know about him?
Mm. Dacian, although young, is quickly learning his place in a difficult web of prestation that our set dabbles in. Sometimes being earnest doesn't necessarily mean honest. And I believe that given another decade, he will be formidable.
And the blood magician, Alyssa Gonzalez. The blood doctor.
She has quite the reputation, being where her stock is from. And she would be hard pressed, to find succor or aid from others who are younger and more ambitious, who would want to see her recent deliverance from the enemy's hand as a stepping stone for their own personal careers. But this is more so a testament to her will and to her will and her ability to strive when others would see her fail.
I see.
A capable magician, nonetheless.
Hmm. Tell me, Mr. Priestley, what would you be willing to give up to stave off the end of the world for a bit longer?
My opinion in my own voice. I haven't heard or felt that in quite some time. Being part of this illustrious ivory tower.
Before we go any further, I should let you know I am not at all associated with the Ivory Tower.
I kind of put two and two together when you asked the questions you asked.
Hmm.
Who are you associated with?
Well, it varies from year to year, decade to decade. Whoever is willing to take us in. Most recently, I found myself in the care of a young couple by the name of Nina and Jocelyn. Before that, I knew the succor of an individual by the name of Harderstedt. Well, that was short lived, unfortunately. And there are many other names which I'm afraid that I simply can't divulge. Certain pacts in place that prevent me from even uttering them out loud to anyone who's not supposed to hear them. But I suppose that is a mortal's lot in life when spending time with your ilk, as you are somewhat bound by the blood.
Hmm. Do you hate your lot in life?
No, I'm able to stay close to quite possibly one of the only men I've ever loved. Even before the amaranth was given to me.
Is he kind?
To me, yes. To others, no. And he certainly has not had the history of being kind. It's something he's had to work at.
Hmm. You know of our traditions and a few extremely pertinent individuals that are hard pressed, and some of the younger ones would be hard, even, how should we say, vacant in the knowledge that you so effortlessly possess.
Well, I have found in these nights that some of them, as you describe, do tend to become a bit aggressive. and I don't come to heal like they expect.
If your liege lord is as efficient as you said, causing harm to you would be very foolish indeed.
The last individual that tried it found himself isolated. I understand it. He's been there for quite some time, and they still haven't managed to find the key.
And what's that I hear? Pride. You're the favorite servant, aren't you?
Favorite and only.
It feels good, doesn't it?
Well, in some ways, I do believe the bond I have with him goes even deeper than what you might call a third stage blood bond.
He looks, and it's the first time he's ever heard somebody refer to that with affection. So, you asked me what would I give. That's hard to say, truthfully. I haven't been one to, so I've learned through error and trial, and my eagerness to prove myself. I would never someone else through something that I could bear on my own. I still blame myself for what happened to Sabine, but that's neither here or there. I feel as if have you ever felt excitement for something?
I do find myself excited every evening when my beloved wakes. I find myself excited when the sun rises after he sleeps.
I mean, unadulterated jubilation when you yourself have completed something with your own two hands that no one else could come close to.
Every day. And if you would like to P&E that, you are more than welcome to.
Sure am, Eddie. Whoops.
No, sir. No. No.
Oh, no, no, no. Too many dice.
Oh, this right number of dice. Too many fucking sides.
Yeah, it's a lot of sides, ain't it, folks? And would you know it? That is okay. Just a moment. Whoops, that's backwards. Give me a hot minute. So that is 60. The successes.
Whatever she's selling, she absolutely believes.
Tragic. Um, when I was younger, when I was able to show my my skill, something that no one else could take for granted, no one else could emulate, and have someone look at it the way a person looks at newfound love, the way a person looks at newness, becomings, first beginnings, births, things that are unique. And to feel that that earnestness could be taken away at any moment. I digress. Having that feeling that no one else would be able to feel such a thing is painful at best. Would I give for that? Yes, I think I would.
My beloved and his associates think that they may know a way to help the sleeping giant lull itself back into sleep. Unfortunately, as I understand it, the Sword of Cain and their operatives that are coming into the city to try and deal with this are thinking about digging it out, trying to set it ablaze. I'm sure that there are those that are looking to try and make a meal of it for all the good that's done anyone else who's attempted such a thing. The creature that lurks below the surface of New York isn't a creature that is in one place or has one core to it. It is massive, shapeless, formless. It runs through the cracks in the bedrock and swells up through pipes underneath the city and forms into the congealed mess that you see reaching towards the sky. It's not an enemy that you can defeat in a normal way.
You seem well versed in the subject. What would you suggest?
It is going to require sacrifice on a grand scale. Blood sacrifice. The ritual itself affects many in many different ways. It's never been attempted, but those that have created it know that no two Canaanites will be affected similarly. Some may only be required to give a bit of blood, others potency, and some the very essence that animates them, and they would be forever lost.
And what does it do to the person? Or is that a mystery unto itself?
There are theories, of course. Those that manage to survive it could be changed. The way their mind works or how strong their tie is to their progenitor may be severely lessened. They may find themselves barely able to sustain themselves as they once knew it. perhaps falling into the point where life and unlife are, the lines are blurred, as we've seen with the thinnest of thin bloods. Others could be utterly consumed, become part of the cocktail that we hope put this Titan back to sleep, hopefully to never again be disturbed. What I do know, what my beloved and his associates have been able to at least divulge, and more importantly, unearth, is that if one Titan of this magnitude is to awake, others will follow suit. Nearly a year ago, one such being arose far to the east. Its childer ran rapid amongst the streets that they inhabited. Horrible dreams affected not just kindred and Canaanites, but also lupines, magi, things of that nature.
I see.
Of course, that creature was seemingly destroyed, luckily. But I don't see a band of creatures of different walks of life coming together to try and deal with this. As I understand, it's others that may be able to see the cathedral, but they cannot see the Titan's hand itself.
And what would you have us do?
There are certain things will be required for this ritual, but all who help in preparation must be bound to take part in it. It has to be done in complete and utter secrecy. If I felt I could go before a council of princes or an inner circle of elders and bring this to bear, I would. But unfortunately, those within power always seek more and would pervert what this ritual does.
So you would speak with the young and foolish like myself.
The catch-22 of it all, which of course makes this more perilous. Monsieur Laurent has been a friend of mine for nearly his entire life. When I came to him, he was willing to help me, under unofficial auspices, of course.
I see. It's a lot to think about.
Indeed it is, but your primogen seems to trust you. What I can tell you is that he has already agreed to take part in the ritual.
Perception, empathy.
Yeah, go for it. I was gonna point at you and say you dumb if you didn't want to do that.
3 successes.
She's telling the truth.
I didn't see him as a selfless person.
I believe the way he put it was, what good is being a king if there's nothing left to rule but ashes?
Now that sounds like something he would say.
Marcel is a good soul, but he is self-serving as most Canaanites are. He has ambition and he doesn't want the ride to end, and I can understand fully.
Hmm. I guess for the future artists of the world, we inspire to be more than my drudgery. He gives a bitter smile.
Well, I need you to understand that time is of the essence, of course, and that you will need to pull together any and all individuals. I know of a gangrel who is relatively flighty, and a Malkavian who has not been putting her face forward. And there is a Nosferatu who would do well to come forth from the shadows by the name of Alex. The more that you can involve, the better. I will continue to try and peddle what influence I have to see that maybe more potent vampires are around to assist you. Though my reach this far away isn't what it once was.
Well
But
then,
but perhaps to assuage any hesitancies or fears that you may have, a name would probably feel somewhat better, wouldn't you say?
I would say so.
Many call me Miss Murray. I go by the name Wilhelmina, though those I have a certain appreciation for, I do permit them to call me Mina.
And which do you prefer, Miss Murray?
They're perceptive young Canaanite. Whatever you feel is your best judgment.
Element before all else. Once you decide the time is right, then the time will be right, Miss Murray.
And as she sits there, she looks up past you
Hmm.
as the door closes behind you. And a man walks in. And he has a smile on his face. He seems to smile at her and almost completely pass you over. And when he walks by, he takes her hand as she offers it and kisses it,
Mm-hmm.
and then looks at you. And I suppose this is the Toreador.
You were supposed correctly, sir. And who do I have the pleasure of talking to?
My name, unfortunately, is not important at the moment.
Well,
I simply wanted to get a good feeling of who you are. See you. Judge you if need be. And the way he's looking at you is very similar to the way that you looked at Mina when you came into the room.
mm-hmm.
You don't even need to roll perception and awareness. You can feel it.
Mm-hmm. He'll just say, "It's awful rude. Could just ask me, you know."
And I have the feeling that you're tempted to do the same to me and probably already have done so
Why ruin the
to.
surprise?
Sorry, I didn't catch that. What'd you say?
Why ruin the surprise?
Unfortunately, nothing seems to surprise me anymore, and it makes my life rather dull.
But for shits and giggles, let's do that perception, that aura.
Okay, yeah, go for it. Get it, son.
Oh, why did I do that? No successes.
You got nothing.
He'll just sit there, kind of rub his eyes. So, Mr. Brooding,
I prefer handsome, but brooding works.
no, he just kind of says in a very finite way.
Catty.
Not catty. You're just not my type. Most people respect a definitive answer.
Well, then I pity the poverty of your taste.
Well, you've seen Abigail. That's catty. He'll smile.
She certainly takes it to an art form that I've not seen perfected to that level in quite some time.
It's impressive. I hope she finds what she's looking for.
I have yet to see her part in this. I do think that she will make her way to the west and find shelter there for as long as it can last until the next monster decides to rise from the deep.
And what role do you play in this, Mr. Handsome?
I represent an organization that has no interest of things coming to an end just yet. There are still many mysteries that we need to solve.
This feels like a very bad X-Men movie. Is that within your time frame?
Never had much of a taste for motion pictures, as
Uh,
you can
I can
understand. At least not ones brought together by the Bryan Singer.
also catty. I can appreciate that.
You did see Superman Returns.
We don't talk about travel trivialities and awfulness. It ruins my day. But
The cloak and dagger routine, I'm sure, is wasted on youth like you. At one time, it was passion. But now it seems to be cliches. Everyone does it now in some way, shape, or form. From government hush hush backroom special interest groups to sororities and fraternities at the universities. Where they believe that having a secret handshake and a ostentatious decoder ring make them somehow special.
When it's important, I suppose. Feeling like you're part of a bigger picture has its merit. Why do you think most cling so fervently to the ivory tower? It must have some type of merit.
All right, can you say that again?
Um, why do you think people cling so fervently to the ivory tower? It must have some merit.
Have you ever known the ivory tower to give anyone a choice?
When you're old enough, you get to make your decisions.
When you're old enough, you get to make decisions for younger individuals. Don't fool yourself, Mr. Priestley.
It's not foolish. It's, dare I say, hope. Or are you too cynical for that, even?
Perhaps too mired in the banal, I suppose. The fact of the matter is, the Ivory Tower is run and is a club for elders and old blood, and like any self respecting business that doesn't have a CEO or a COO or a manager or even a supervisor retire of old age, it makes what's available for the youth and the interns and the new hires very slim. I'm sure by now you understand that they move you around like pawns, fighting and squabbling over scraps while they move much larger chess pieces in their own Machiavellian schemes. Your prince, for example.
I'm well aware. Better the club that you know than the one that you don't. But herein lies your very drawn out Machiavellian exploitations. What exactly are you offering?
I understand that you have a sizable currency of boons currently saved up.
Yeah, you could say that.
Discussions were had between myself and Mr. Laurent about perhaps trying to strong arm you, but he advised me that that wouldn't be necessary. Seems to think that you have enough sense to see the writing on the wall. I can't offer you anything within the ivory tower that you don't already have. I've kept myself distanced from those that participate in the jihad, and thus I have no sway over them. What I can offer you is bits and pieces of lost knowledge of your own mind that have been taken from you. Along with the security that your boons will actually mean something by the time the moon rises and sets once more.
It sounds like a thing.
Unfortunately, I don't have any grand offers to make you. It's not that I lack currency, it's just simply currency that I don't think you would find very appealing. You seem to want to stay here in the tower. And by all rights, if that is what works for you, then I suggest do it.
I have no idea who or what you are. It would be foolish to leave something without first knowing what I'm stepping into. That's just foolish.
A gesture of good faith, then. Typically, my clan is considered an enemy of the Ivory Tower. Fleshcrafters is what most know. The Zemisi.
Yeah, that would be a big no-no.
However, I have never had myself associated with the Sword of Cain. I am not a flesh crafter. Not in the traditional sense, anyway. Those days were best relegated to my time as a mortal.
So, what would you consider yourself?
Someone who's attempting to find a higher path.
And that path would be.
The greatest thing any Cainite kindred or any other individual that needs blood to survive, who bears the curse of Cain. Golconda. And roll me your vampire lore, or your kindred lore.
Mm-hmm. 2 successes.
You've
What?
heard vague stories of this word thrown around. It's some sort of the best way you can kind of think of it is like a haughty notion of a zen-like state for a vampire, which you could liken to the idea of Buddhist enlightenment at best, a secession from suffering, perhaps.
So, you telling me that you've achieved something that most would describe as a fairy tale?
Achieved? No. I still hunger for the blood of mortals. I still am harmed by the sunlight, and I still have to wrestle with my beast on a nightly basis. But I have learned more about it in the last 600 years than most have in the last 6,000. If I had to describe the organization I work for, I would say that we are scholars, among all else.
No, that is intriguing. Now you have my undivided attention.
Unfortunately, the order is extremely exclusive, and you would need. Darling, what is it that they call it? A restriction, a prerequisite. And Miss Murray holds out her hand, kind of halfway up past her shoulder and her head.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Something akin to you must be this tall to ride the ride, as she says.
Oh, so another old man club. See,
Not in the traditional sense, but yes.
again, I ask you, then why even ask me?
Well, the term foot in the door mean anything to you anymore?
It means something, but what you're offering me, if I'm understanding you correctly, is a
Continued existence, for one. And if you can make the cut, prospective membership. But it takes time, a great deal of time.
and you expect me to trust you on faith alone.
I had to make a leap of faith myself once before. That I was greater than the means that were dealt to me. I went from a mortal to the unwilling, the child of an unwilling sire. I've made manifest almost all that I wish to see. All based on a faith in myself.
He folds his arms in his chest.
Unlike most coming with promises of power, membership, or long-term investments, I'm not looking to have you bound in any sort of way. This is something you can take or leave.
And what's stopping the Camarilla or the Ivory Tower from coming directly for me after all is said and done?
He'll take a step back, and Mina will kind of sit up a bit more straight in her chair, kind of lean forward a bit.
Granted, I've seen people blood hunted on suspicion and hearsay.
You understand what a oracle is?
I've heard the term before.
I was gifted with foresight. Product of consuming the blood of my beloved. Or perhaps some other means. Who knows? But from the moment that I entered into this world, I have been able to see things with frightening accuracy. The things that I've seen since the era of the gaslight, far too much of it has been eerily similar. The tower will crumble here, and there's nothing that anyone can do to stop that. I have seen an empty battlefield with the shattered remains of a sword and a tower and youthful individuals climbing to the top with a flag, a banner of unity taking its place. The banner itself shifts from sigil to sigil.
But in the scheme of things,
It's hard to get specific on faces that I've seen. Though what I've come to know of you by first and second hand accounts, and then of course by now getting to know you, I don't see you. But I also haven't seen your face swirling in the pooled blood of the ritual that we will attempt. Could mean many things. You survive. That you somehow don't survive to the ritual. Or that your place in it may mean nothing at all. Or you're simply part of a outcome that I simply cannot see through. What I do know is that I require a rose. A rose who has its thorns hardened by battle, and who is surrounded on all sides by his fellow youths. I see scepters, I see wolves, I see shattered mirrors, and I see masks. I see philosopher kings as well as warriors. I do believe that you will be a catalyst, or at least a banner.
you do
For
realize you're asking me to portray the one person that has fostered and molded me up to this point, and for me to turn my back on her. Would you do the same for your beloved?
she sits back and she actually thinks about that. If I could make a sacrifice of any kind to ensure that he could continue to exist, yes. Even if it meant betraying him.
And you can say that with absolute certainty.
I don't say anything other than what I am certain of.
Perception, empathy.
Yeah, go for
She's giving me a goddamn line. One success.
it.
God damn it.
um, with one success, she is certainly confident in what she said. Whether she's truthful or not, you know you can't suss out with what you've read off of her face. She's frustratingly good, is the best way I could say that Adam might perceive her.
Hmm. And he will look. Gotta say. He picked well.
The path that I follow does not have room for those that cannot stick to their guns or those that don't have the internal fortitude. Conviction is very key to survival, especially of our kind. And the deeper that you descend or in the case of the ivory tower, the higher you ascend, the deeper your conviction must run.
On one hand, I could rise, a shooting star of sorts. On the other, uncertainty, but an offer of clarity that I haven't seen in quite some time. Tell me, Mr. Handsome, do you enjoy lies? Do you dabble in them?
If I told you that I had outgrown some such notions, or that I didn't partake in them anymore because they have no use for me as I am now, would you think me more or less of a liar?
That depends on what words you say next.
I am very willing to admit that I will say anything to get what I need, truthful or otherwise.
Well, you've passed that test. If you said anything different, I would have walked out then.
Then you're smarter than most every single canite in this club. Present company excluded, of course. And he says that with a smirk. A
Adam
wry one
puts
at
up
that.
Adam puts up quotation marks. So where to next?
Rally your allies. Bring forth what you have experienced here, what you've learned. See how many of them are willing to rally. If they are favorable, bring them before me here. Give them the opportunity to walk away as though they never heard. Trust in them. Or at least tell them that you'll trust them to walk away without foiling these plans.
And what's stopping them from going directly to the prince?
Nothing.
Then you're out of person.
Perhaps. But I have the feeling by looking into your eye and what lies beyond it. You've seen what lies on the other side, haven't you?
I wouldn't be here still talking to you if I didn't.
You can walk away, certainly. But I'll not sully my hands with sorry, out of character. Bleh.
Hmm?
I will not sully my hands by executing those that may yet still serve. Simply because they didn't like what they had to hear, what they had offered to them. It goes counterproductive to everything I'm trying to do here, everything that we're trying to do.
And yet there's no guarantee that I won't survive past tonight if I go on with the supposed plan.
There's no guarantee that you'll survive beyond the doors of this club. There's no guarantees that you'll survive after the ritual is over or beyond that. There's never any guarantees, Mr. Priestley. There never have been and there never will be. That is a basic understanding of the truth of all things. That no matter how enlightened or dense you are, you should understand. All I can tell you is that if you do not do what needs to be done, then you'll be washed away by the blood tide. And I know you've seen it.
And there it is again, that illusion of choice. All right. Is there anything else we have to discuss here?
He'll shake his head. No. We have other places to be tonight. You are our first stop.
Mm-hmm. Miss Murray, always a pleasure.
And she'll stand up this time to offer you her hand.
He'll take her hand, he'll kiss her hand, and for what it's worth, it was very nice to meet your acquaintance.
She'll hang on to his hand for just a moment and look at him. I know that it seems to work against your own self-interest. Take what we've offered you and take it on blind faith. But the alternative, if you're wrong, is oblivion. And you know that.
Mm.
You have aspirations that you want to follow. This is a way to ensure that you at least get the chance to do it.
He'll smile politely and give a polite bow to those assembled and turn on his heel.
Yeah. And as you walk out, the club itself is continuing on as it had when you came in. People dancing and plotting and fretting and contemplating, completely ignorant of the gravity of what went down in that private room. Primogen Laurent is, of course, nowhere to be seen, as he seems to have made his exit from the club for the evening. And as you step outside, of course, what you see there under the moonlight still ominously stands there reaching. And it is there that we will end our scene. Unless you have something else, of course.
Mm-mm.
Well then, thank you, player, for playing. Thank you, watcher, for watching. And we'll see you next time on Living World of Darkness, New York by Night.